So if we can turn our attention towards God, towards the peace of being. Relaxing and resting as presence. Which is ever presence, eternal presence. Causeless presence. Maybe at the mind level, there is a looking for something. But as our true nature, as what we truly are, there is nothing lacking. Because that which you are is not a thing, it's not an object. Presence, awareness is not in time and space. Although you may imagine yourself to be a person existing in time and space, that's not the case. Whatever appears to you, thoughts, perceptions, sensations appear to you, you being this borderless, aware presence, God's being, the eternity of being, the infinity of being. You don't need to rely on the thoughts and the sensations that appear to you in order to live in this bubble of personhood. You don't need to do that. It can be seen to be illusory. that which is not illusory is the reality of being. The I am, I, not somebody, but I as this aware presence that has no name and no age. It doesn't belong to somebody. It's, one could say, God's mind, God's being. It's never, you're never removed from God's being as you are that. There aren't multiple beings. Multiplicity is just a thought impression, a feeling impression, a belief. Because our experience is one, is whole. There are no parts and pieces to our experience. It's a whole. The wholeness of consciousness, the totality, the indivisibility of being, of presence. You don't need to refer to yourself as by the name of this mortal body. You do not need to keep referring to yourself as this person with the characteristics of the body-mind. Because the characteristics of the body-mind appear to you, but they are not that which you are. That which you are, you already are, which is the I-ness, the presence, the beingness, which knows itself to be a borderless, to be this transparent presence, which knows itself to be non-dual, to be the one reality. Once you get a glimmer of this understanding, you do not need to go back to the old patterns of lack and insufficiency as a person that you imagine yourself to be. You don't exist as a story in time and space. The story of the person is just an appearance that appears to you, which you believe yourself to be, but you are not, because you are this aware presence that has no story, that is not a story. The reality of being is not a story. You don't need to get rid of anything. There is no past that you need to bury and no future that you need to avoid or thoughts appear and disappear like the weather. But you need to know yourself to be that which does not appear and disappear, so that that which appears and disappears does not disturb you. Why should it? like in your night dreams, all sorts of events appear to you in your night dream. And why should they disturb you? They are illusion. You realize that upon waking up from the dream. And you don't need to keep dreaming and waking up from the dream, dreaming and waking up from the dream. Because that which you are is awake. That which you are, this aware presence, doesn't know it's sleeping or dreaming or awaking or not awaking. It is. The I refers to isness. Sat, sat, isness, awareness. I am and I know that I am. This does not refer to a body mind. It does not refer to a thought or to a belief or to a feeling or to presence. Awareness is absolute. This is available to you. God's presence, God's reality is available to you. Closer than close. You don't need to keep choosing the personal story. What's happening to me? When is this going to happen to me? Why is this happening to me? You don't need to keep returning to this model, this belief that you are something, that you are some object, some form. Keep turning your attention to the source of your attention. Umer, you're right. Magdi, this so-called causeless absolute presence awareness presents itself as devoid of any phenomenal qualities, not in time and space. It has always been there, even before and after me. It has no characteristics, hence borderless. This presence or knowingness describes itself as a still point. It has always been here, but at the same time, it does not feel like me because the me is myself. And this presence, this still point, this knowing is no one and nothing. It stands on its own without any identity, not even myself. So how can this presence be myself? It is very subtle though. Am I on the precipice of no self-realization? Umer, the sense of me is not different from the I, except that the sense of me is believed to be dependent on the body. We all have a sense of me, but the sense of me and the sense of I are not different. The only thing that you have to realize is that the sense of me is not dependent on any conditions. It's not, doesn't arise with the body and dies with the body, does not get better as the body gets healthier or gets worse as the body gets less healthy. You simply need to comprehend and contemplate and come to the absolute clarity that the sense of me is not a better sense of me when you win $1 million at the lottery, or a worse sense of me when your bank account goes to zero. We all experience a sense of self, but the error is in believing that this sense of self is born with the body and is transformed into some other transforms into consciousness or something upon the death of the body. This sense of self, whether it's a small s or a big S, is the same sense. You simply have to come to clarity that this sense of self doesn't refer to the stories or the history of the body or of the mind or of the world. So the contemplation that the sense of self is not immortal sense of self, that this sense of self is not, doesn't refer to the body or to the mind. That's a neti process. You come to comprehend the no self. But the comprehension of the no self does not lead you to the comprehension of self. There is a further step beyond the comprehension of no self, which is the comprehension of the self as the one reality, the one and only reality. You also write, Umer, the sense of me, I, is a feeling. This presence is beyond feelings, sensations, perceptions, etc. Umer, you are making distinctions. You are making distinctions where there are none. A feeling, the reality of the feeling, is consciousness. You say this presence is beyond feelings, sensations, perceptions, etc. Yes, but also the sun shines on top of the surface of the lake and produces many different reflections. You are conceptualizing presence as some abstract thing. We all know presence as we are presence. Right now, in this moment, I'm not talking about some holy grail. This very presence right now, the presence that hears these words, the presence that is, the presence that you know is that same presence within which a feeling arises, which, in other words, that same presence that takes on the form of a feeling. Simply do not mistake this feeling to be personal, because that feeling is the feeling of the universe. It's not your feeling. It's not your personal feeling. It's a feeling of the universe. You also write, Umer, but this presence awareness is not a feeling. The sense of me comes across a feeling, and yet at the same time, I can get beyond the sense of me, I, self, to the sense of awareness presence. I just can't get past the false me feeling. It still feels I am here. Don't try so hard. Don't battle. Don't engage in a battle with a ghost. This me feeling is the I, is this impersonal I. How can a feeling be the sense of presence when all feelings arise and pass? Because feelings that arise and pass is just an impression, an illusion. There is no arising and passing. When you are looking at the feeling, you perceive something that arises and passes. That's the illusion. The reality is, when you're looking at the feeling, it is I looking at itself. There is no arising and passing. We speak of arising and passing in order to bring your attention to that which does not arise and pass. But that's just the initial stages of the teaching. The following stage of the teaching is that which arises and passes is an illusion. There is no arising and passing. Everything is consciousness. You are still considering that there is a separate self. In other words, you're still considering yourself to be mortal. The sense of me is not the problem, but the belief that this me is mortal, meaning is somebody who is born and will die. Is the issue. So don't try to experience presence, because you already are that. Simply notice that that the I that you take yourself to be is not dependent on situations and conditions, or at least contemplate that the I which you take yourself to be, there is no evidence to support the belief that this I is born, that this I is dependent on the body, mind is dependent on the brain, is dependent on the world. You need to take a look at that until you come to clarity that I refers to the eternity and infinity of consciousness. It's not about reaching a certain state or getting a certain enlightenment experience or suddenly realizing presence. You are presence already. Simply contemplate the belief that presence is conditional. Umar, you also write, I would say, as I have been taught, that the true I has no feeling because feelings arise and pass, but the true I has no me feeling. It is impersonal, as you say. The sense of me also arises and passes away. And I think you have said before that presence is unchanging, just raw experiencing without an I. This is why the no self-realization is so important. At least contemplate that I you take yourself to be, question mark. That is what I am saying. This false I, me is not real because it is a feeling. But now I see you say that I refers to eternal consciousness. Okay, Umar. Simply do not attach a story. Do not believe. You have to take a look at that. You cannot just not believe something that you believe. You have to see through the belief that you exist in time, that you are a historical being, This whole question about reincarnation and all of that comes hand in hand with the belief that you are a mortal being, somebody who exists in time and space. What evidence do you have that you exist in time and space? You don't. Time and space appears to you. You don't exist in time and space. Whatever exists in time and space is just your illusory mind, which is not a problem, as long as you don't mistake yourself to be illusory mind. But as soon as you mistake yourself to be the mind of illusion, then you're overlooking your true nature. But as soon as you discriminate between the belief that you are somebody that appears in time and space, you discriminate between that and the reality which you are, then whatever appears to you is not a problem. So, what is that thing? Is it Maya? They say Maya, the arising is not a problem. Ignorance is the problem. The world, body, mind is not a problem. Ignorance, believing yourself to be a body, mind, is ignorance. Ignorance is cured via understanding, not via feeling, via understanding. When you understand that there is no monster in your closet that is actually your grandfather's trench coat, then your feelings of fear and concern, they cease to arise. When you comprehend that I refers to presence, I refers to consciousness, and that all along that's what I refer to, then the belief that I is something that you experience ceases to be, at least at the mind level, if you comprehend it deeply enough. But of course, in the case of the non-dual contemplation, you still have to journey through the vasanas and get on the other side of the vasanas. That's the post-enlightenment journey to come to realization or establishment as your true nature, meaning to remain as consciousness irrespective of conditions, irrespective of situations. That's the Sahaja Samadhi. Any questions? Okay, so I'm going to read a question that was sent to me by Zach. So, dear Magdi, I have noticed how very rare it is to come across a pure non-dual teachings. Most spirituality keeps referencing the body as me and overlooks the source, overlooks consciousness. It is almost shocking that the true teachings are heard again and again without it actually being heard. And if one speaks of pure non-dual teachings, there is a huge resistance or opposition. I wish to thank you for staying true. Thank you, thank you. Yes, Zach, we don't come upon the non-dual teaching, at least to comprehend the non-dual teaching, until we have had some maturity along the path, meaning we've had already not just glimpses, but also quite a few maybe years of meditation or contemplation. So to come to the appreciation of the non-dual teaching, requires it's not the beginning of the path, let's say. It requires a certain journey. So yes, it is very rare to come across non-dual teaching and to comprehend. I mean, you can come upon the non-dual teaching and it won't mean nothing to you. That could happen, or very little to you. That could happen. Sometimes people come to the teaching because they're having a little personal problem. They want to solve the problem or get to a better feeling place, and so that's also available. And that's not really what this is about, but it's the sideshow. And yes, most spirituality references the body as me in a subtle way, just speaking very, very generally, not about any particular schools of teaching there, but there are, yes, many schools that offers certain improvements, self-improvement practices under the spiritual umbrella, but behind the scene there is the me. It's not addressed. They don't address the core of the matter, and the non-duality goes straight to the core issue. And you say it's shocking that the true teaching heard again and again without it actually being heard. Yes. At the same time, when you have apple tree, there are apples, or hundreds of apples in the tree. Some are at the outer branches, and the sun strikes them the bright sun touches them. And some apples are more inside the tree, and there are a lot of leaves and shade, but they still get a little indirect light. They do get, and in time they also ripen. So you cannot get close to the ocean, even if you're a few miles away, without, even in a very subtle way, getting a whiff of the ocean, the smell of the ocean. There's something, or the landscape, even if you're a few miles away, the landscape around changes. This affects you. And The problem is a lot of people don't understand the non-dual teaching. Some people teach under the guise of non-dual teaching, but it's not really non-duality. And also there are people some people who are holding on to their ideas about the teaching, what their tradition, and when they come upon non-duality, they want to have non-duality match their tradition, and so they're stuck in their tradition. The degree to which their grip around their tradition is, the tighter the grip, the less they have the understanding. But the looser their grip, the better the chance is that they get some understanding. You say if one speaks pure non-dual teaching, there is a huge resistance or opposition. Again, when we are holding to our personal ideas and beliefs and notions about our teachers or about our school or about our tradition or our personal experience, we may have had some insights and we feel this is it, and so then the non-dual teaching may be perceived as being threatening to their understanding, and if they're not willing to or available to go beyond, then the non-dual teaching is an issue, and yes, there will be resistance, opposition, or argumentation. Yeah, that's sometimes that's how it is. But sooner or later, of course, the sooner the better, you come upon the non-dual understanding. There is no way around it. So Umer, you write, right now I am aware of the presence, yet at the same time this presence is not the I, me feeling. Umer, when you say I am aware of the presence, what is the I that is aware of the presence? Is the I that is aware of the presence itself? Or is there something else that is aware of the presence? You say, yet at the same time, this presence is not the I, me feeling. Well, depends what you mean by the I, me feeling. In presence, there is just presence. Why talk about the I, me feeling? And presence is presence. It is presence is peace, is the peace of being. So if you're aware of the presence, then there is peace. Causeless peace, not peace because I'm aware of presence. You're right, that which is aware of this me, I feeling is pure awareness experiencing. Yes, you could say that that which is aware is pure awareness, yes. This awareness, you're right, this awareness come across to me as beyond feeling. Yeah, okay, we could say it's beyond feeling. I wouldn't say that disregarding this me feeling is a good idea, because it can be used as a neti-neti approach to see that this me feeling is not awareness, because awareness is undying, unborn, and yet the me is born and dies. This me is a valid object of contemplation to realize that there is no self. Well, if you are aware of presence, you don't need to do anything else. You don't need to disregard or not disregard the feeling, or to just stay with it. If you're aware of the presence, meaning when there is peace, why trouble yourself with neti-neti and all the other stuff? I wouldn't. I would just, enjoy the peace of being. And when the me feeling arises, if and when the me feeling arises, then you can, as you say, take this opportunity to notice that the me feeling is subtle arising. It's something that arises to you. It is not the you. It's not awareness. It is just thoughts and feelings arising. And for awareness, meaning for I as presence, there is no concern about thoughts and feelings arising, except when I, let's say, choose to believe that these thoughts and feelings that are arising really, really matter. And if they do really, really matter, they matter for whom? For whom? Obviously not for consciousness. So they matter for what you imagine yourself to be. They matter for me. So consciousness is out the window. And now I'm playing the game of, oh my God, these thoughts and these feelings really matter. Okay, well, we are free, Want to get on the horse and do the rodeo. There are horses that you can get on and play rodeo. Because, first of all, nobody's forcing you to consider that these thoughts and feelings really matter. You are free to notice that these thoughts and feelings really don't matter. They just arise and dissolve, and they don't define you. You are not defined, meaning consciousness is not defined by the thoughts and feelings that arise. So when the me feeling arises, it's an opportunity for you to return to the reality of consciousness. What if there is awareness of presence without peace? If there is awareness of presence without peace, then the awareness is not of presence. The awareness is of some concept that we call presence, an idea of presence. It is not awareness of presence. So there cannot be awareness of presence without peace. And you say, what if there is awareness of presence without peace? Right? If, the if game doesn't, why play the if game? When there is awareness of presence, that which is aware of presence is presence itself. And presence is not an experience like experiencing a nice dinner or experiencing smoking a good joint. It's not, that's not the experience of presence. It's not a phenomenal experience. Being aware of awareness, meaning being aware of presence, is not like being aware of a mind state. Presence is not a state of mind or a state of the body. Presence is the transparency of being. It is the I-ness, the amness. When amness is aware of itself as a way of speaking, there is no other. There is nothing else. It isn't like I'm aware of amness and I'm aware that this dog is going to bite me. So when there is awareness of amness, there is a knowingness at the same time that this amness is awareness. It's not just like some, oh yeah, you know, I'm aware of amness. No. It's a knowing, there is a knowing of yourself as this amness, as this awareness. So it's knowing, it's such it, it's a knowing of being knowing it is. And that it is absolute. It's not like it's knowing that it is, and at the same time it is not the tree, or at the same time it is not this, or it's not that. It is not amness and not amness. Being but not being that. It's absolute being. In the absoluteness of being, there is no other. There is no duality. And non-duality means peace. Jeff, yes. Umar, you're right. Magdi, I can see this chat through your glasses. Being aware of awareness presence is not contemplation. Rahman would like to know your location. I don't know what that is, but you know, I use the term contemplation, you know, meditation and contemplation. Contemplation is the reflection upon reality, the reflection using higher reasoning and using reflecting upon the scriptures, upon the words of the teachers, upon the words of the sages, to contemplate and to also take this contemplation into your experience, to test the teaching against your experience, so that you can align your experience, not forcibly, not because you're reading the teaching, but via comprehension. Your experience aligns itself in the comprehension that arises out of your contemplation. Yeah, the mind is, you're right, using the mind, definitely. The mind is a tool that's available to us, that we use, that we can use in the direction of God, in the direction of truth. We can turn our mind towards God. And we can do so in so many ways, you know, by attending satsang, by some contemplation, by meditation, via inquiry. All of these are mind, you could say, is mind activity. But there's a difference between the mind serving the illusory self and the mind serving God. Okay, instead of serving, let me say that there's a difference between the mind being interested in the personal self and my personal aggrandizement, my personal protection, my personal welfare, and being interested in truth, in the realization of the reality of consciousness. Hello, Holger.
Hello, Magdi. You said something in a side sentence, very casual. You just said it. And it was really interesting. You said, cause it is causeless peace, not because I am aware of presence. And this is just so precious to me because I always, I have to be with this a little bit because I always, I can see how I put effort into this peace by believing it's me being aware of the peace. I mean, it's just so beautiful. I cannot explain it, but it was an amazing pointer for me that you just spoke there, if I understood you correctly.
Yes, it is awareness itself. That although it is already, and although it is already the only reality, the non-dual reality. I know that words are limited, but it is this very awareness that one could say chooses to precipitate this understanding via a particular body-mind. It is like in the rose garden, the rose garden itself chooses to bloom a particular rose or roses on particular branches of the rose bushes. It is God's grace and God's doing, because there is no other grace and no other doing. Although there may be the illusion of personal doing and separate others, because when we rely onto the very limited sensory realm to perceive, rather than relying on consciousness, we experience the impression of limited perception. The limitation of the perception that we experience is only due to our knowledge, deep knowledge, our inner knowledge, our intuitive knowledge, that of the wholeness. Because in the absence of our intuitive knowingness of the wholeness, then our perception, our limited perception via the senses, would be sufficient and complete. But it's not. In our experience, we know it's not. we realize that the mind is limited and that this personal activity is limited. We experience this limitation only because of our experience of the wholeness, of the totality. Because in the absence of any of our knowingness, of our absolute not knowingness of the totality of the wholeness, we would not experience any sense of limitation in any way. This is why I was sharing earlier that this personal self is not separate from there is a connection between our experience, no matter which way it appears to us, at the mind level, at the feeling level, at the perception level, and the peace of being, and the wholeness and the totality of being. And so within our experience, no matter how it appears to us, there is the imprint of God. This is why sometimes it's said that even difficult situations, what we call to as suffering situations, is not a problem. There is no problem. This is the imprint of God is in every aspect of our experience.
Thank you. Lots of gratitude here. It's so beautiful to be in satsang, and there's so many precious pointers, and yeah, it's wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, Holger, yes.
Hi, Magdi.
Amna, hello, Amna.
Hi. So a lot of what you just said, like, just went over my head. I didn't understand a lot of what you said. But I wanted to, okay, 1 second. Well, I feel stupid for asking this. And the question is, like, for me, when it comes to confrontation, there's a lot of fear that comes up, and I understand it's coming from, like, believing myself to be a limited body mind, and I wanted to hear what you would say about that.
You know, when there is clarity, when there is no doubt, there is a power that comes to you in the certitude, in the certainty of your understanding. There is confidence and power, not power over somebody, or I'm not talking about the egoic power, but the power of understanding. And when you have an understanding about consciousness, then you have the power of that understanding about consciousness. Because at the root of your understanding is consciousness. So in your understanding about consciousness, there isn't a belief. But when your understanding is based onto a belief, so that's, I would not say it's an understanding, but let's speaking that way. When your perception is based onto a belief, the belief is not a real structure. It's not a solid ground. So then you have some doubt within yourself. There is a doubt, but there isn't the certitude, there isn't the certainty and the power that comes with the certainty. Although you may be holding on very strongly to the belief, it's still a belief. And so there is the emotion that comes, this the fear and the worry and the concern that comes, because deep down you are not certain. So now there are all sorts of confrontations. And I don't know exactly which confrontation you're talking about, but there are all sorts of confrontation. You see children playing in the sandbox, and they're having confrontation. It's my toy, not your toy, you say. So they're battling over whose toy it is. So I need to ask you to say some more about what sort of confrontation you are talking about.
Okay. One moment. So when someone is doing something and like I'm not okay with it,
You're not okay.
I have a hard time. Yeah, I have a hard time communicating. Because in my family, there's a tendency for the other person to be very like explosive or reactive.
Mm.
So it's like wanting to avoid that.
Yes. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. It's unpleasant when you are in relationship with friends or family that are emotional and is if there is no way out, and you have to look at what beliefs you have in your relationship with those people. Because as consciousness, you are complete freedom, like absolute freedom. So if you're experiencing some sort of emotions, I'm not talking about discomfort, because you could be wearing shoes that you just bought and they're new and they haven't been broken in, and you're feeling this discomfort because the shoes are tight. I'm not talking about discomfort. I'm talking about emotion, fear or worry. If you are experiencing negative emotions, then you are compromising yourself as consciousness. There are some beliefs that you are holding at that moment of negative emotions about your true nature, about your freedom, about what you are. Because you can experience discomfort and distaste distasteful. Is that right? Distaste. You can experience distaste when there are some people around you that are distasteful, but not unhappiness. You will not experience unhappiness. Unhappiness has to do with me, that I am this person and what's happening to me, why is this happening to me, and etc. And so you take the steps, whatever steps you can take. Maybe you don't have too many options, I don't know, but you take the steps that you can take in that situation, but as consciousness, not as amna, not out of a place of fear and out of a place of unhappiness. You're not trying to improve your happiness. You're just trying to improve the situation that you find yourself in at this point in time. You follow?
Yeah, so like that was spot on in terms of like my problem isn't with like the problem like the is with the actual fear that I experience and like feeling limited.
Well, there may be limitations upon the body. There may be limitations, financial limitations, physical limitations, situational limitations. But this does not mean there are limitations upon what you are.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I want to be okay even if there are limitations in the body and all that.
But you cannot be okay with when the situations are limiting you financially or physically. When there are, you will not be okay with that when you feel that your life, you cannot be happy. You will not be happy until this situation changes. So if you feel that you will not be happy, that you cannot be happy until the situation changes, then that's what you will experience. You will experience unhappiness, concern, worry, whatever, unhappiness, whichever form it takes, because you are assuming and believing and feeling and perceiving that you will be happy when this situation changes, or that you are unhappy because of the situation. So, because unhappiness only is a result of resistance and seeking. It has nothing to do, there's no such thing as unhappiness when it comes to being, when it comes to knowing yourself, when it comes to being with God, when it comes to recognizing God in everything and as everything. Then there is no unhappiness. Unhappiness arises when the thought comes to you that things should be different, and then it would be better for me.
So in this case, it's like what should be different is like me not being afraid. That's what. And
well,
like,
you know, depends what you mean by me, you see, because usually me is the past and the future. The me is something squeezed in between events, and so I'm sort of regretting the past and I'm hoping for a better future. That's the me.
Yeah.
which is what we refer to as thoughts and sensations. But it doesn't feel like thoughts and sensations. It feels like a reality. It feels like reality, but it's not reality, because reality is consciousness, and that's not squeezed. Consciousness is not squeezed between the past and the future. It's not regretting the past and hoping for a better future. So you know, you come to the satsangs and we talk about our true nature of what we are, the reality of consciousness. And so then you have to apply that, see how you can live as consciousness, as opposed to say, oh yeah, but my situation is, I understand what you're saying, but my situation. Because as soon as you say, but my situation, 7 billion human beings could also do the same thing, say, but my situation. There's always going to be situation. It's a situation for me, situation for everybody, for Holly, for Aya, for everybody. It's a situation. And everybody can say, yes, but the situation is ... Situation, my mother, my father, my cousin, my uncle, my son, my children, I have 2 children, whatever, whatever. So as soon as we say, yes, okay, I understand that living as consciousness, exploring how to be as consciousness, to perceive, to think, to act from this understanding. As long as we place a condition onto that, then we're postponing. Then we are going to perpetuate. The situation is going to perpetuate itself, because this is the direction we are taking. So you cannot consider yourself a victim of the situation, because as soon as you consider yourself to be a victim of the situation, you have misrepresented yourself. You're no longer representing yourself as what you truly are. Instead, you're representing yourself as a subject to conditions. There are always going to be conditions in the relative realm.
How do I live as awareness, consciousness?
It's like somebody saying, how do I learn to play the guitar? I like to play the guitar. How do I learn? Well, of course, you take courses, you read about, you go to the best teachers you can, and you practice. You pick up the guitar. I don't know, some people sit on the floor and they play the guitar. Some people, they go into a very quiet place. Some people go down into the living room where everybody's having some wine and so on. They play. There are so many ways to explore, so you have the answer to the question is available to you because you are consciousness. So it's like when you say, how do I live and perceive and so on as consciousness? At that moment, the I that you're referring to is not the true I. You understand? So it's like you're saying, how can you are in this question, in the question, there is a trap for yourself. You are asking a question of interest in consciousness. How can I be as consciousness? How can I am now what I imagine myself to be and so on. how can I? So it's like saying, how I'm interested in truth, I'm interested in reality, I'm interested in waking up. And so how can I, Santa Claus, how can I Santa Claus? How can I Santa Claus realize that I'm not Santa Claus? Because you're not Santa Claus. You cannot be Santa Claus and not be Santa Claus. So, okay. So whenever you are feeling and imagining you are Santa Claus and you are being Santa Claus, recollect that you are not Santa Claus. How can I recollect that I'm not Santa Claus? Because you are not Santa Claus. There isn't a how, because you are not Santa Claus.
Okay.
So in your experience right now, when you say I, are you referring to something in the past? Are you referring to something in the future when you say I right now?
Am I referring to something in the past?
In the past, anything in the past. Are you referring to something in the past right now when you say I, or I am, or I am?
Yeah, it comes with, I'm sorry, because we've talked about this before, but it comes with images.
Okay, the image, when you say I, an image arises, yes?
Yeah,
Good. What perceives the image?
I do.
I, okay, good. Very good. So that's it, that's the exercise. When you say I, what do I mean? I mean an image. Well, what perceives the image? I do. Okay, so therefore there are two eyes. Is there two I see the image and I the image? No. You don't know yourself as two. You only know yourself as I, as one. Right?
Yeah.
Yes. So when you say I, you're not referring to the past or the future. You're not referring to the image. I am not saying an image does not arise. An image may arise, not a problem. But you are not referring, when you say I, you're not referring to the image. I'm not trying to get rid of images. I'm not anti-images, okay? I'm just saying I is not the image that arises.
Yeah. I don't feel anything with that though.
What?
Like I don't feel anything with that. Like it's like okay.
Yeah, okay. So the I isn't in the past, isn't a past or a future. Right, yes. Yeah. Yes, yeah. And you're right, yeah. So what? No, there's no so what to it. Just yeah. So whenever you consider yourself I in the past or in the future, you are deluding yourself. Meaning, whenever you consider I to be something in time, something in the past and in the present, in the future, like sort of, then I don't know what you're talking about. It's not the I. Yes? The I that you perceive is not the I that perceives.
Yeah.
The Amna that you perceive, the stories that you perceive, the memories that you perceive with me and then so on is not the I, it's not the true I.
I don't feel anything with that though. I have a belief that I'm supposed to feel something like this, like peace.
Live as presence. And presence, the way you live as presence is how we're living right now. I don't know what I'm going to say next. And I'm not saying, oh my God, what did I just say? I'm not doing regret, or I'm not doing future planning. I mean, in some cases we have to plan, like if you're traveling to California, we're not talking about that. So I am not living worrying about, oh my God, what are they going to do tomorrow? Or why did they do that yesterday? Or what am I going to do tomorrow? Why did I do that yesterday? Living as presence, living as consciousness is not living in time, is living as this not knowing being not knowing. So I'm not worried about, because worrying about is a projection of some imaginary me in time, right?
Yeah.
And regretting is a projection of some imaginary me in time. Yes?
Yeah.
So try that. Try that on. Explore that.
I have another question, or do you have to go?
No.
Okay. So at one point you said respond like in a when there's a confrontation, respond as presence.
Well, it depends on the confrontation, but yes, always respond as presence. For example, if somebody's coming at you with a sword, you run. If somebody's coming to you and telling you, oh, you're so stupid, presence is stupid? Oh, okay, yeah, okay. And you don't know what you're doing in your life. Presence doesn't know what it's doing in its life. Okay. And you have no future. You're wasting your life. You're never going to do anything out of your life. Wow, presence is never going to do anything out of its life. Wow, that's great. Yeah, okay. I'm okay. Check. And you don't love me anymore. Presence doesn't love. Presence is love. But okay, I'm sorry you feel that way. I love you. Well, no, you don't love me. You done you this and that, and yesterday you did this and that, and get out of my face. Okay. Because presence isn't thinking, I should correct them, I should straighten them, I should teach them. No. If somebody comes, knocks on your door, says, can you please help me and teach me? Presence says, oh yeah, sure. What can I do for you? What can I do for you?
So with you used like the analogy of Santa Claus. Like Santa Claus, he wakes up, he knows to do his beard, he knows what he's gonna wear, he knows what he's gonna say. And like being taught that you're supposed to know. And so what you're inviting me to experiment with is like living as presence, like not knowing.
Yes. Being not
Okay.
known. Yes. Being not known. All that is needed arises to you in the moment. I look at the situation, say, holy cow, you know, this, I'm looking as presence. This tire here is low. I need to put some air in it. I didn't know that a second ago. I just was there. I may not perceive it actually. I may be driving, I hit boom, 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 boom. So as presence, you know, I don't know. I have no concern. I mean, we're talking about, I'm not talking from the practical aspect. Sometimes there's planning. And so of course we plan. So I look and I say, okay, I've been invited to go to Hawaii. Wow, great. Okay, so I look at that. Look at it. You know, I consider the situation. I consider the inner situation too, the outer situation and the inner situation. I take it all in account. How does Tara feel about traveling? Does she want to come? What's happening with the virus? How is our economic situation, etc. So, yes, you live in the freshness of being, in the freshness of being. So, like the orange tree, the orange tree is living as the freshness of being, and all the oranges in the orange tree are living as the freshness of being. It may rain, there may be sunshine, there may be some wind. This orange next to me may get riper before me and fall off. Darn, I was having a good time with this orange. Now I'm all alone on the branch. So yes, living as presence, yes. This is an exploration, you know. Exploration. It's a, you try it out, you see.
Yeah, it feels more relaxing.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. Tranquilo. Okay. Any questions? Okay, well, thank you all. Lovely to be with you, Holger, Amna, John, hello John, Rashmi, Zoe, hello Zoe, Holly, Aya, hello George, and Esther. Thank you all. Very beautiful to be with you.
Thank you.